One in three American men are not looking for work.
Is that a real statistic?
I've seen it multiple times on different places. I don't know. Is anything real? I don't know, Mike. They made 172,000 jobs last month.
How's that possible?
So I don't know. Is that a real statistic?
Yeah, how is that possible? Government jobs? Like, what? How's that possible?
Mike, here's the thing. Okay, well, how it's possible? Like, well, first of all, just real quick, the stock market does the opposite thing all the time now. A great jobs report and the stock market drops.
Yeah.
A bad jobs report and the stock market goes up. The government shuts down, the stock market goes up. The government opens, the stock market goes down. These things, this is nonsense, everyone. I'm sorry. This is all nonsense, obviously, right? Like, I know it's working out for some people, and those people, like, won't admit that it's nonsense, right? But there are so many people that it isn't working out for that, like, haven't realized it yet. And do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, the things people say that I'm like, well, that's actually nothing. You know what I mean? Like, well, I'm beating this in this market or whatever. I'm like, yeah, but, like, that market's beating you. So it doesn't matter.
So I think in general, in a way, you are very correct. It's just going up because nobody wants bonds, and they're gonna get their money out with this whole SpaceX, Anthropic, and OpenAI IPOs. I mean, they changed the ruling on the Nasdaq. Luckily, the S&P 500 was like, they were like, nah, dog, we're not changing our rules. But the NASDAQ is, and it's going to send everything into tailspin because basically Elon is trying to get a valuation of like $1.8 trillion based on revenues of like 5 billion and like negative 5 billion or something. Basically, there's like the revenues don't justify the fundamentals of like what what they claim to be the market capitalization of future growth. I'm just saying what they're saying. So,
Yeah,
but they have
yeah.
to do it because there's nothing else to do. That's why the CEO of Google is like ex-CEO of Google's talking at Harvard. It's why like everybody is doing commencement speeches and talking about AI, and it's always like a prominent figure talking about it for the most part. And every time the crowd boos, their response is, "Well, it's happening. It's happening because what the captain says is right. Like it is nonsense, but the same way it is nonsense, it's because they're like you're gonna do it whether you like it or not because it's already happening and there's nothing to do to stop it.
Yeah.
And
then, like,
you're just gonna
what
buy
I'm
it
saying
because
to
you're
these
not gonna buy
kids
Bitcoin and
is
you're not gonna buy bonds. So
no,
this is
but
the
like,
new
but like,
thing.
here's,
Yeah.
but like, this is the grift. This is the actual grift. No, if these kids don't buy into it, the the money men are fucked.
Yes.
They need everyone to keep buying into these grifts. They need you to keep sports gambling and Robin Hooding and all this shit, right? They need you to keep doing it. It's a Ponzi scheme. They need money at the bottom to keep flowing in so that they can pay themselves out at the top.
Yeah,
Right?
and sadly,
The only
I
way to
think
destroy them is to stop paying
people
them.
are young. The young people are dumb enough to think that they have a shot. But I got news for you. If you look at every one of those Cowshe or poly market betting schemes, if you look at the odds of winning, it's the same as it's the same as a lottery scratcher. 4-1 is your best odds. Like
Here's
25%.
all right, Mike. People like it when we get a little conspiratorial. All right.
Okay.
So like, let's get conspiratorial. Right.
All right.
Basically, like when these statistics come out, like you talk and then things hit my head or whatever, right? And so I'm thinking about what we talked about a second ago, where they're like, oh, well, you know, most of the internet is now robots. And I'm like, huh. It's crazy that lines up to the exact moment that the internet decided you all were assholes. Interesting. Maybe all the real people are just mad at you. Have you considered it? No, half of them are fake. Everything in America is a 50% issue. So since the entire internet is against data centers and AI, we're going to say that half of that's made up. And so that means that 50% of people like it. And we can just keep voting like we always do.
I
right?
have a whole conspiracy theory about data centers, and would you like to hear it? And it's my own personal one.
Yeah, it's a land grab.
Other than a land grab. All right. So you know how Mr. Green's theory of the internet is, well, obviously the dead internet, but I take it a step further. So I personally believe, like, we know facts about certain things. Like, we've never like the internet wasn't just discovered; it was old DARPA, CIA technology given to someone, then rolled out, and blah 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 blah. But it was around before it became the internet. But basically, they brought it into the future, right? So, what I think is happening with AI is, if the dead internet theory is true, which now they can basically confirm that it is because 56% of it is bots, then that tells you that AI has
Those are the
been
numbers.
around a lot longer than right now. Because there's been many instances that you've seen online, videotapes, the news of engagement farms where they'll go in and shut down a guy because he has like thousands of cell phones against the wall, commenting, like liking and commenting on things, and they're commenting on those things, and those things are commenting on those things. And it's illegal to do that. If you are doing it on your own, they will shut you down.
Like card counting,
But
I'd imagine.
I would imagine the house always wins. So I personally believe that the data center push is not only, I think it's a data grab from a land, it's a land grab, a data grab, and a way to advertise to you more effectively because they believe the more data they have, the more they can do it. I'm not saying it would work. I'm just saying that's the reality. They're going to use data as a currency, energy as a currency, and they've already had this. They're just doing it on a mass scale. So they're going to have the whole agent push is now those bots from those engagement farms, which they probably own now, are going to have basically visas and can like do all these apps and pay for things. I personally think they're making it where the bots can stimulate the economy so that this goes on forever. Because when you tie in crypto and when we all accept crypto, you reset everything and stable coins. I just think it's going to become so murky and so messy and so all tied together that it's going to take a very long time to figure out what happened, or it's going to be a very long time before it all drops again and then the dust settles and then we know what happened. I think it is a reset from like a grift type of situation.
Yeah, I mean, well, like
And that probably didn't
point
make
is,
sense, but I tried it.
no, no, no,
Yeah.
no, no.
Yeah.
Whatever happens, we're headed for a reset, right? Like the fact of the matter is that, like, if all of this AI and data set, which again, one thing you said that AI's been around for a long time. Like, I know, because AI's not a thing they invented. It's a marketing term that they've umbrellaed over all of these things that pre-existed.
Yeah.
Since the development of AI, there has not been a single new fucking thing.
That's true.
Every single program that I have used that is AI had an equivalent prior to this happening, right? Like, there were chatbots on every single website before AI.
Yep.
Does no one remember anything?
Yeah.
Does no one remember anything? Am I the only person that remembers a single fucking thing? Everyone acts like every single thing that is happening today is the way that everything has always been forever. And I'm like, oh, don't you remember last week when you said you didn't like that? Like, no, I've always loved this. And I'm like, no, you didn't. And you don't even like it now, right? I was talking with my buddy when we were on our way back from the bar, and we were talking about AI. And he was like, I had told him a while back, I was like, oh, yeah, no, the thing I tell everyone, like, well, the intelligence is artificial. It's making you feel artificially intelligent. It's God of the gap seeing your lack of knowledge. So if you don't know anything and you type something into AI, the less you know, the better the answer seems. And the more you know, the worse the answer seems. That's just flat out true.
Yeah, because
right?
it goes to
And he
the
was like,
common denominator of the median, right? So it's like, because the keywords always
yes.
bring you to like, basically, if you think of artificial intelligence as a human brain that doesn't know anything,
It's making you feel artificially intelligent.
yes,
That's where the artificial intelligence
because
is.
your
In
normal
your
a
fucking
normal
head.
brain
You're being tricked.
will
They're either cold reading you like a psychic, right? Like, it's fucking stupid.
yeah. So that's a great way of putting it. It's cold reading you as a psychic, or it has all your data and reads you better as a psychic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's cold reading the common denominator of a human. So, like, it's like, what AI image will trick the most number of people into thinking it's an image? And it's like, well, people who don't understand how images work, right? And it's the same thing as, like, well, someone will be like, this does really great reports. And it's like, the guy at your job that actually does the reports doesn't think so.
Yeah.
Right? It makes really good slides. Well, the person you know that makes slides doesn't think so. It's really good at analyzing this. Well, the guy you know that analyzes that doesn't think so. And they're like, yeah, but the only people that think so are managers, like middle and upper managers, who do not know how work is done. They do not know. They do not know how work is done.
I have the sneaky suspicion you're right, because they they look at AI from two angles. Like the big, if you were to take the people that are like middle managers and up right now, a lot of their tasks and daily duties are to manage like the office, and a lot of their stuff is emailing and listening to meetings. And they love AI because AI will record everything and summarize it. When they love it for that reason, and then they love it for like sending emails in their like lack of response. So that, but like if you think about that, everything that's making their life easier, they actually need to pay attention to actually run their job more effectively. Because for two reasons. Number one, if you're having to have, I sit through so many meetings and I don't look at an AI summary of the meeting at all, because I'm paying attention in the meeting and I don't need to do that because I'm not an invalid. And then two,
Yeah. Hey, you fuck.
yeah, two, the other thing
Fucking notes.
is that if I get emails that seem AI-ish, I immediately delete them, because like one, I think all AI is written with way too much fluff. Like they're talking about, oh, we're not gonna have water, stuff like that. You know what? You're right. We're not gonna have water. Maybe the AI chatbot should slow the F down and start making simplistic sentences. It's not like you're given groundbreaking information. You don't need a paragraph to make your point. Like, because if people are coming to AI for like and believe it's true anyways, so just give them the fucking answer. And if they want why, they can ask why.
It's plausible deniability by the AI makers, right? That's why they're like, well, you know, most like it's what it is. But yeah, man, you're like it's just like everyone just it's because no one has any like everyone again, I think that there's two types of people who know it's true and people who don't know it's true, right? And I think the problem is and this is true of basically everything in our society, but there's a big chunk of people in the middle that are just fucking pussies. Sorry, like there's just I don't know, something around 100 million Americans are just abject fucking coward ass bitches, right? That's just what it is, right? Like the fact of the matter is the reason that all this AI is taking over is because there's like one guy in the office that's willing to say something, and everyone else knows it's true, but they'll let the boss say his absolute abject nonsense, and then when he leaves the room, we're like, yeah, well, I don't know what's good, and then you're like, well, should we say something because we're all doing bad work? And they're like, well, we all hate our jobs, and no one wants to do anything anyway, and so no one gives a shit. No one cares, and if they do know and they do care, they're a fucking pussy about it. Am I wrong?
I think
Someone
everybody.
say something to me. You won't because you're probably a pussy.
I think everybody
like,
is a yes man for sure. The ones that make it up truly
it's the
high
only way
enough,
to get ahead,
yeah,
right?
yeah. A lot of them are yes men.
We have an economy of cowards. Hey, look at how much money someone has, and you know how much of a coward they are.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it takes so much harder work to go against the norm and be successful. It's so hard because like you know what,
Because it's rigged. Because the game's fucking rigged. Of course it's hard to win a rigged fucking game.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, and
But the thing people need to realize, and then I'll get off my soapbox for the Patreon bit, or maybe this episode. But like the thing people need to realize is that like no, going with the grain won't help you either. When they line all of the new hires up and they go, hey, if you all try hard enough, you can become partner. They're fucking lying. All 12 of you can't become partner, right?
I think the only way to get ahead is to work for yourself. And even when you work for yourself, if it's your own job,
Without capital, how can you do it?
It's hard
right?
to do. I'm not going to say that anyone can do it. A lot of the people that are successful working for themselves come from a long lineage of people that have worked for themselves. So it's almost like, the apple never falls too far from the tree. That's why we do what our fathers did.
And of course, even now, even if you had like in the distribution is so fucking controlled now, right? Even if you have the skills and the material and stuff, it's like,
You
oh,
don't
you
have a
just can't get
cert.
the word out
Yeah.
because like things are like gated, and it's like, dude, someone made a joke like 10, 20 years ago or something. Like, imagine pitching a newspaper to someone now and it sounds like the greatest idea ever, right? Of like,
Yeah.
yo, you know?
Yeah.
And like that's how I feel about the yellow pages, right? Like, dude, imagine pitching someone the yellow pages now and be like, no, we'll just give like numbers of people that we know or actual businesses that like exist in places.
Dude,
Like, you
man,
know what I
people
mean?
would pay mad money for yellow pages now.
And you can just look it up like alphabetically or by thing. It's not like, dude, is there a fucking more bullshit thing in any thing that's ever happened off of Epstein Island or whatever, that like then when you Google search something and you're like a specific thing just because like you meant to type it into the bar, but instead you're like, instead of putting like facebook.com, you just type Facebook into like YouTube or whatever. Not what, don't do that, everyone. I don't know why I thought that. But then it would be like, but like then like the top result is like MySpace. And it's like, well, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'll be looking, I'll be like, I'd like to use Descript, and I type it in. It's like three things that are like, we're Descript alternatives, and it's like, you need to at least put the exact word I googled above the ads, right? Like, don't you feel like that's like a bit of like I don't know, man. As I've been going and like watching more stuff on just like pirated sites and stuff, I was like, I can't believe they ever tricked me off this shit. What was I doing? Netflix wasn't, but Netflix used to have everything and it was $5. You know what I mean? It was like everything was there and it was $5.
Everything.
Someone's gonna be like, it was $7. Shut up. I'm making a point. You know,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
that's
the
how they trick it.
reality is it always comes back to the ads.
Yeah, right. Like streaming music, we all used to download like illegally download music, and then they came out with streaming, but streaming was initially like, I don't know, Pandora was free. I don't remember what like this. Then I think kind of Spotify came around, but Spotify was like, again, like Netflix in 2012 or whatever. Spotify was very cheap. It made a lot of sense to pay like single digit dollars for unlimited listening to of songs, right? But like as time has gone on, the catalogs and the selections have gotten smaller and the prices have gotten higher. I was just watching something the other day. It was from like, I don't know, like 4 years ago or something. It was like a review of like the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. And they were like, oh, well, now that this is over, Miss Marvel will be running by itself on Disney Plus or whatever, because they were running at the same time. I was like, yeah, like at least they were putting out a bunch of shit. Now they're just putting out shit, but not even a bunch of it, right? Like they're putting out like
A lot of it.
like
A lot of it is shit
they
today.
keep
Yeah.
like they were putting out a bunch of shit, and then they were like, we're gonna focus on quality, but that was a lie. They were like, we're just gonna put out less stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I would generally agree with that. And then they bought wrestling, and then now it's all become television again. But like worse. It was actually worse than television. And on top of that, like they've taken away free tiers on some stuff, like where it's like, okay, you can either have some ads or a lot of ads. I thought there was a tier without it. Like, if that's not a thing yet, it eventually will be.
No,
I guarantee.
for like at least a year, even buying the most ad one, you still get all the ads for the service.
Yeah.
Like if you have no ads, you're still just trying to watch a show, and it's like, do you want to watch whatever Mark Ruffalo's doing? And I'm like, no,
dude.
I
I know for a effing fact that this is all right. So this is gonna take us down a conspiratorial hallway here, but okay. So
people love it.
All right, it involves Elon Musk, which everybody loves to hate him, with good reason. He seems like an asshole, but.
Not enough people, frankly.
Yeah, not enough people, frankly.
I'm totally honest.
Yeah,
like,
but his whole like
and not long enough and not soon enough.
His whole like Neuralink thing has a lot of success, not due to him, just due to his money. But the reality is, if they put semiconductor chips in our head one day, that all it's like I see a future where they would like everyone to have chips in them, and then I see a future where it becomes mandatory to do, and if you don't have enough money to pay for it, their options would be okay. Well, then we that's totally fine. We'll cover the cost. We just randomly have to show you an ad once a day at any given time in the day when like they want to, you know?
They want every dude. We have an episode of the podcast that not enough people watched called "Ads on Your Eyelids."
Yeah, I
Right?
mean that's what they
And
want.
in it, we're like, no, you're gonna have to like pay to sleep. Like, not obviously, you're gonna have to pay for your bed. You have to pay for your apartment. You have to pay for your sleeping pills, and you have to pay for the CBD that's supplementing your sleeping pills, and 1,000 other things. But like, you're gonna have to pay to go to sleep. Like, what I think's gonna happen, because I've been thinking about like dystopian futures and stuff. Like, what I think it's gonna be is I think you're gonna have to like pay to turn your screens off.
Yeah, that I could see that. And there'd be more screens everywhere.
Right? Like in Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451, like everyone has all of their walls are Instagram screens.
Oh, that sounds
And so like when the
terrible.
guy comes back, his house is like 3 of his walls are Instagram screens, and like his wife wants him to buy like a fourth Instagram because you need to have all 4 walls be the Instagram screens. I mean, they don't call it Instagram then because they wrote it in 54 or some shit like that, right? But like, but like that's like what it is. I'm like, yeah, this is crazy, and like like his wife like at the same time like, and they're like, but they like think they're interacting with the screens. Like she has like a role on like a show that's gonna come on the wall, and he's like, what are you talking? He's like, yeah, they're gonna cut to her in like her house with her little camera, and she's gonna like read one line, and then she's like part of the show. Like there's like real like, and again, it goes back to like last time when I'm like, oh, ICE is just trying to do the bit for Men in Black. I'm like, they haven't seen or read anything I haven't read. As a matter of fact, I've seen and read more things than all of them, right? They don't have any original ideas. There's no original ideas in Hollywood. There's no original ideas in New York. No original ideas in DC, right? These are places that are bereft. I sound like people I hate, but these are places bereft of like ideas or like morals or work ethic. These are places where the fucking shit filters up to the top, and like they're just taking advantage of everyone because when you're rich, they'll let you do it. When they're rich, they'll let you do it. Whether it's grabbing you by the pussy or the wallet, it's the same goddamn thing to them because you're nothing to them. They don't give a fuck about you.
Damn.
You're a little pawn in the game, bitch. You're the little bitches on the chessboard.
It's true though. You hate to hear it, but it's true.
You hate to hear it. It's like one of those things like the Philadelphia Eagles don't care about you.
Yeah, and most of the Philadelphia Phillies aren't even from Philadelphia. So
yeah, like your fandoms are not reciprocated.
Their advantage. They took the Coliseum approach and then took like Warriors or just going wherever.
This is the Roman Coliseum. You think like Gladiator, right? And at the end of Gladiator, in a positive way, the crowd takes the side of Maximus, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the actual way that the gladiator matches works is they're propaganda for the emperor. They're like, yeah, sure, things suck, but at least he's putting on these great shows for us. And again, as I've pointed out before, the Roman circus had free fucking bread.
Ooh.
All right? I just like to throw that out there again.
Flea bottom. Yes.
Like they want us to give them the money, distract us from the things they're doing to fuck us over, right?
And literally that is fucking us over. Like they literally have done that. And eating us for some reason.
Like we talk about it, we don't talk about it all the time. I think about it all the time. It's like I'm out of I can't speak in metaphor. I can't be hyperbolic. There's no way for like, because I'm just like, dude, imagine if a major organization in America was fucking kids and no one cared, right? And your response to me is gonna be like, which one?
Yeah, which one?
Yeah, exactly. Right? It's
That's
fucking
terrible.
insane.
That's terrible.
Are you talking about the Republican Party or the Catholic Church or the Boy Scouts of America? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're talking about Penn State? Like, what are we talking about here? I'll tell you what we're talking about. A thing that no one seems to give a shit about in the weirdest way possible, right?
Yeah.
Um,
So much like
but,
that
like,
and
to
gun
bring-
laws. Like no one cares that there's like more school shootings
Mike,
per year.
this is where I'm going crazy, right? When you're talking about people putting the brain bits in their head, right? And you're like, oh, well, there are some people, like, other people will go to me. Well, there's a bunch of people like, don't tread on me. I'm not going to take any of this. I'm like, those people are full of shit. They've always been full of shit. Every don't tread on me motherfucker is full of shit. They're full of
They
shit.
should be called flip floppers.
Because they absolutely like they want to be able to do whatever they want, and they want other people to be fucked with, man. But if you let other people be fucked with, you're in line,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
This isn't like it's not like well they're gonna fuck with these people and they'll leave me alone, right? But we've known it forever, right? You see people with shit on the back of their car that says like the blue line and we support the troops, and then from my cold dead hands. And I'm like, what, do you think they're going to send the teachers to take your guns? Like, you haven't thought about this at all. You just bought some fucking stickers. But don't worry, you're not alone. All these Teslas have fucking stickers on the back of them being like, I bought it before Elon Musk was an asshole. Well, you didn't buy it before he was born, so you didn't, right? Is that enough rants?
You're filling a lot of time tonight. I like it.
That's what I feel like I'm doing. And also, I was out at a bar, so I'm feeling a bit talkative.
Good.
Like I
good.
would.
Just do this more
And
often. It's way easier on me.
But
I appreciate it.
I know. I mean, but it is like it is odd. Like it does seem like one of the things that people do like is like a good rant from me. And like a chuckle for you.
Hey, that's fine.
To be like
I'm good with that.
Thing that people like, but also, we talked about it before with like the numbers and stuff, and I was like, well, Mike, the economy of nothing is already a success because I've gotten you to like watch most of the stuff we make, right? So like that was my plan the whole time was to get you to watch this behind the scenes shit I was making for my show, right?
Yeah.
But I do think when I'm doing like this in the show, I'm like, oh, well, like you are the audience. So I'm like doing a bit for you that I think like maybe the audience will like, you know what I mean?
So Mr.
Like,
Green and every audience / Patreon member would be the best friends, I think.
Yeah. I mean, that like, here's the thing, like people are here for Mr. Green, right? He's the this is what's great about Mr. Green. He is both the audience surrogate and the other, right?
Yes.
So he serves like those two roles that I think are like kind of fun because he's the one that believes in the system in a way that like the captain doesn't. Anyway, should we start the show?
Is the show started already?
I saw a thing today where all of a sudden they're like, oh, whoa, we need to slow down AI because of bioweapons.
Yeah.
And again, I just need to reiterate that when we talk about like Terminators and Skynets, and whenever they talk about apocalyptic AI stuff, they're trying to convince you it's real. It's not real. It doesn't even do basic math.
It makes up new versions
It's
of math.
failing to do basic math, okay? It's not. They want you. If you think Skynet's real, like if you could be afraid of Skynet, then that makes their product seem realer. Because like, oh my God, they're so close. They're not close to Skynet. Again, they're nowhere near close to Skynet. Okay, it's fine. It's cool. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about worry about the actual bioweapons that already exist, dumbasses. Like we don't need supercomputers to make bioweapons. We already have fucking bioweapons. We've already used bioweapons.
But it's got the word bio in it, Mike.
Anyway.
Bio.
I know, because everyone's a fucking dipshit God, I hate to insult everyone on every podcast, but why is everyone so dumb?
Because Joe Rogan is the #1 podcast listened to. That's why everybody's so
dude,
dumb.
I was at the bar, and I was wearing my Economy of Nothing hat, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go back and record a podcast. Like, oh, like Joe Rogan. This girl was like, oh, like Joe Rogan. I was like, we were gonna have him on this week, but I think we have to have him on next week.
Did she believe you?
I don't know. Probably not. Maybe not. I don't know. I mean, I am like, I didn't say I should have. I'll never think to do it, Mike. But at some point, when someone asks me about the podcast, I should mention that, like it's not like we have 7,000 Instagram followers. It's not a fake podcast. It's a real podcast. It's a real podcast, but you can't buy it because Joe Rogan has 7,000 million subscribers, right? And you could never catch up to it because that's not how the numbers work, right?
Right.
It's impossible.
You're
right?
the first to market or not to market at all.
But again, Joe Rogan wasn't first to market either, right? It just happened.
Yeah.
There seems to actually, I don't know. We look. I bet, as I say it, I'm like, there seems to be no reason, and I'm like, no, I bet it correlates to something perfectly. Joe Rogan becomes, you know what I mean? Everything else was done on purpose, but Joe Rogan was an accident. That was the only thing that was an accident, right? How can we have a UFC fight on the White House lawn right now and us pretend like Joe Rogan accident? Do you know what I mean? Are we all this silly? We're like,
speaking of the Roman Coliseum, I mean, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah,
that's
right?
taking us back in time more than anything.
I know.
And they're considering leaving up the arches, I guess. We're going to have more UFC fights on the front line.
The Department of Justice just argued, I don't know if it was in court or in a brief today, that Donald Trump has the right to demolish the Statue of Liberty if he wants. Which again, he probably does because the president of the United States has too much power. You want to know why, Mike? Because 100 million Americans are fucking pussies. Probably more, right? I'm probably being too nice to 200 million Americans, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many people do you know, Mike, that have said to you, oh man, that guy's lucky I didn't whatever, and is a person you've never seen whatever in their entire life?
Almost every person I've ever met.
Almost every single one.
Almost every single one, yeah.
So lucky you didn't say something to me. It's like, why? Fuck you. I know you. I've been places. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know you were gonna say it.
No, I know.
But everyone's such a pussy.
You know what?
That they won't
you
even
know what? I got really
a pussy because they're such
I
a
got
pussy.
so offended today, and I just had to I'm just like, it's so evident to me that people are just gay, and they're just not honest with themselves. People just say shit like people, if you have a fucking issue with Pride Month, then go suck a dick. You know what I mean? I just how could you care that much? I just don't understand.
Dude, Mississippi's collar is like a little rainbow tag.
Yeah.
Because that was like the ones they had, and then but so many people say stuff about it that it has become a thing that's there now, out of spite. So many people, I don't know, just so often people are like, oh, there's a little problem. I'm like, why? What's going on? And again, Mike, I think it is more to not you go to the Instagram or wherever, watch the Ron White bit that's now out. You can watch it.
I haven't actually.
We're all gay a little bit.
I think I have a theory that most people that have a problem.
But it's because they're pussies, dude.
Yeah, it's that, and
they're scared of the fact that they're gay.
I know. Hear me out.
Right?
I heard the argument that they were like, "Oh, none of the men here got a problem with lesbian on lesbian," and it's like, well, yeah, I don't think anyone would from a straight, yeah, but they're like, they have problem with the guys on guys celebrating, and I'm like, why would you have a problem with that? If the only reason I think you would have a problem with that, based on the fact that you like lesbians on lesbians, but you have a problem with guys on guys, is because those guys
makes them feel a type of way.
Yeah, it makes
they have
feelings
when they see it. Like they say that it's anger.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, when they see a dude in a banana hammock and some wings flaunting it around, they have emotions and feelings.
Yeah.
right? I don't. I don't fucking. I
I
don't
know.
know.
I'm
I think
like,
it's
I'm just
dumb,
like,
but I think everyone in public all the time's dumb. If you're in
yeah.
public and you're doing anything, I think you're an idiot. You know what I mean? So like, I don't think they're any dumber than any other
So
parade I see. I think all
I was gonna
parades are
say
dumb,
that,
right? Like,
yeah, maybe probably that, but I was also gonna say I think that they get like maybe offended that it's either what you just said, they get like they feel some sort of type of way towards it, or they get offended that they've never been like the app, like it's always those people who are afraid of like, oh, some guy's gonna like try to take me on. It's like, well, you're only saying that because no guy's ever done that. You know, like
well, yeah, yeah, man,
you're
yeah.
not a pretty girl in their eyes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah, man.
don't want
Like
you.
that's like the actual fact
Yeah.
is like, don't worry, they do not want to fuck you.
They would
Don't
literally
worry,
choose
dude.
anyone else
They
other than
they
you,
want
guy that looks
they want
gross. You
they
know.
want nothing. They want nothing to do with you. Or don't worry, right? Like that's not what's happening, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it like, but yeah, I mean, I think it really is one of those things where like I just I don't get it. Like I go back, Jimmy Carter, last Christian president of America. Jimmy Carter said, and his point was paraphrasing, whatever, like, well, homosexuality existed at the time of Jesus. He would have been well aware of it. It's well documented. If he had something to say about it, he would have said something about it.
And he did.
Like he had, but again, Jesus admonishes the rich so many times, and I never hear a single fucking person ever talk about it. But Jesus never said anything about gay people or abortion or any of this shit. But it's brought up fucking constantly. Because no one in America is who they say they are.
Yeah, I think
Right?
everybody's waking up from a play. They're waking up from. Okay, all right. Now I had a thought earlier I wanted to talk about on the podcast, but I lost it, and I have it now, and I think it'd be good.
Okay.
All right. So throughout time, I can only speak from like our parents and like our grandparents, but I have a theory, right? So throughout history, each time, like you go back and you study philosophy all the way to Plato and then move down the line of all different philosophers, you start to see a pattern that starts to happen. And it's every time a philosopher makes a book that's worth something to people or a movement or something, it always moves the needle forward as far as consciousness goes. Every single time the Christian church tries to get rid of it, or any religion tries to get rid of it, because it basically just like pushes it out of view. It says it don't look at that over here. This is a better way of looking at your life. And I think us as humans, there is a level of like subconscious consciousness where like you feel some sort of way. It's how you can predict certain things, right? Like in our culture today, if you're hanging around a certain group of people, like you can kind of predict what that person's thinking or what it's going to do. But if you were to like move to like a place in Africa and be around them, because the culture's so different, you're not going to be able to do that. But because you're around your people that you're used to, you're going to start to feel that sort of way. So I think within cultures there is some sort of collective conscious that goes around that we all feel, right? And like you said, people feel a certain way about stuff and they can either choose to accept that or choose to ignore that. And I think there's people that have been taught things their whole life and they accept it as fact, or there's people that are taught things and they question it their entire life. And those people go on to the collective ones. The other ones stay in the past. But each time it moves forward, right? I think people wake up every single day and they choose to either kind of be more open-minded or to
It's
stay
so
in the
weird, man.
past. But I think it's because the
I
amount of information just flowing in, it's speeding up
I
at a
think
rate
yes,
that where it's just
yes,
creating all this anxiety, you know?
dude, I think you're so right. And this really does bring me back, and I think instead of like I this is my fucking theory, dude, is I think that the internet is made up of considerably more real people than we're being led to believe. I think, like, for example, AI is fake. I think that like most view farms are like foreigners being paid very low amounts of money to do this stuff, right? That's what most of this stuff is. The same thing as like automation. Like your iPhone isn't made by little robots; it's made by little hands, right? Like all of this stuff isn't real, right? It's all like fugazis, as someone might
Yeah,
say,
everything
right?
is, yeah.
And so, but I can't. But like to look at the internet, you would believe that the internet is like what television tells you the internet is, right?
Yeah.
But to be on the internet is almost to exclusively see people like pushing against that stuff, right?
Mhm.
And it's like one of those things where, like we talk about Reddit, and obviously there's a bunch of bots on Reddit, right? But like the bots aren't on our side, right?
Yeah. They're definitely
And
not.
like it doesn't feel like 50. It feels like 50% of the articles are like on our side, but like 95% of the comments. Do you know what I mean? If that makes any sense? Like, and I'm sure people on other sides of issues would feel the same way, but it is the front page of the internet we are presented is cable news, right?
Yeah, it's
It
controlled.
is, there's an issue, there's two sides to this issue. Hear them both presented to you, make up your decision, right? But like it's one of those things where everything's kind of a trick because they're trying to act like they're like, well, we wouldn't want to tell you what to think. But I'm like, no, I'm a busy person with an actual job. You're like a reporter who's supposed to like dig into this fucking thing and like actually kind of tell me what to think.
So
Right.
I
And
have a
that's like,
theory. I think it's one of those things that just happens. But the best way I could describe it is when Elvis, during the height of Elvis's fame, Elvis manager created like I love Elvis T-shirts and I hate Elvis T-shirts, and basically there was an Elvis thing for every person out there, whether you loved him or hate him, right? Whenever
yeah,
new
you're talking about it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So like whenever news switched over
Yeah.
to ratings and entertainment, no longer news and real journalism and like actual deep thinking, intellectual thinking, philosophical type thinking, questions rather than telling you how to think, getting you to think about the issue and get your take on it, which is built on a foundation of knowledge and wisdom that you've attained over the years, but is what the old way of thinking. But that doesn't get you clicks, that doesn't get you likes, that doesn't get attention. Instead, whenever all those like channels switched over to having to be for profit, everything becomes the Elvis mentality. Like you either hate Elvis or you love Elvis. So, and the fact that it's a 24-hour, 7 days a week news cycle, you have to pump that machine. And people like to call it a propaganda machine, and in a lot of ways it is, but it also isn't, in the sense that there's just always something that has to be published so that it can continue the growth. And when you hit a point of like the apex of information, like at what point is it not good data? Like, right? Like you don't need some of these
We've
articles,
said,
right?
I've said
Yeah.
this, to you, Mitch. I said this to my buddy in the car, so it's been bouncing my head. I've said it to you 1,000 times. Make sure I say everything on the podcast is the new rule of the podcast. One of the biggest problems of our day, and by our day, Greenie, I mean like 2026 ish, is, my old day, is that people cannot understand the difference, can't delineate, don't understand the difference between data and information.
Agreed. Agreed.
But everyone else is playing the same bullshit. So none of them can be like the CEO of Walmart. I'm sure hates what Michael Saylor's doing with Bitcoin, but he's bullshitting people with like variable pricing and all this other crap. So he can't very well say anything because he's a pussy.
Everybody's a pussy.
100 million at least.
And that's the show, folks. Economyofnothing.com.
It's probably the show. Fuck it, dude. Hey, Greenie, this was a great episode. I do think that like we need to do like at least a little, like this is the least show
I
we've
know.
ever
Can we
done.
just
Hello,
get it?
everyone.
Can we just get
Welcome,
it over with?
welcome to the
Tired.
Economy Another Show where we listen. I know that the Skull Pirates are chasing us. Don't worry, there's a visual for it. Obviously, whatever, right? But Greenie, we just need to like You need to say, hey, everyone, welcome to the Economy of Nothing podcast. Man, oh, fuck. I had a really good line. It's not a good line, but I just think we should say the Economy of Nothing. And I was thinking about it, instead of being the Economy of Nothing podcast, I was thinking we're going to change it to the Economy of Nothing, a weekly animated podcast.
All right, but drop the.
Yeah, well, no, because
Economy of Nothing,
I want like
weekly animated.
Right, because I want Economy of Nothing, the animated series. But at some point, we need to delineate. And also, I feel like podcast is so limiting, and I feel like they're starting to take the word. They're trying to be like, oh well, if I'm not uploading my videos to Libsyn so they're hosted on Spotify, I'm not a podcaster. Fuck off. Joe Rogan can keep it. You know what I mean? Like, we're making a goddamn cartoon. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Economy of Nothing. In this episode,
you know what's upsetting, Greeny? In this episode, we talked about like the wildest shit. We didn't stay in character at all, and there's not an action sequence, and it's gonna get like 4,000 views. And then none of those people are gonna come back because it was a boring episode. But I'm right about everything I said, and I stand by it.
And I'm too tired to do any improv tonight. But don't worry, Patreon members and new viewers and return listeners. See you on the next one where I give it my all.